and you get acidified. Milk causes acidifying. And your body can't handle it. Your body, your blood pH has to be 7.35. 7 is neutral. 0.35 above is alkaline. But if it's below, the body can't handle it. You're sick. And you have problems. Then the doctors give you calcium. Calcium pills don't work. Milk worsens it. It causes the problem. There was an article some time ago about what happened in Southeast Asia. The women there apparently have an average of 8 children. And they nurse them all. And they don't even know osteoporosis. It virtually doesn't exist. Why? They don't have enough money to eat meat and fish and chicken and milk and cheese and things like that. They eat vegetarian foods, so their body's healthy. That's exactly what happens. You can create good health with natural, organic, vegetarian foods. And it may interest you that, for instance, the very high amounts of carrot juice, of the Gerson therapy, we use a great deal of carrot juice. Carrot juice has almost the same amount of protein as mother's milk. If you think you're not getting enough protein when you eat vegetarian, you're wrong. I sometimes get the question, it annoys me greatly, because I get tired of explaining. So then I do something very nasty. I ask a question in return. The person who asked me, well, where do we get our protein with all this vegetarian food? Then I ask back, what is the biggest, strongest land animal you can think of? Elephant. Where does the elephant get his protein? What does he eat? Does he eat meat, fish, cheese, chicken, eggs? No, vegetarian. Oh. Now what about cows or bulls? What do they eat? When a cow gets pregnant, does she drink milk?
Of course not.
So where does she get her protein? And she gives birth to a big baby. Not only that, but she gives milk to nourish the baby. What, from grass? From grass. And it opens people's mind to even think about vegetarian food containing proteins. But these big animals, the 800-pound gorillas, and the elephants, and the bulls, and all of them, they eat vegetarian foods. So there's got to be protein, right? Of course. And actually, our human bodies are designed for vegetarian food. Our teeth are the teeth of vegetarians, not the tearing teeth of the meat eaters. Our stomach has only about 1/7 of the stomach acid that meat-eating animals have to digest meat, so our stomachs can't handle it. Our intestinal tract is the long intestinal tract to get the nutrients out of the more difficult things like fibers from vegetarian foods. And the animals that are eating meat, the meat-eating animals, have a short intestinal tract because meat putrefies when it digests. And the putrefaction goes quickly out of the short intestinal tract of the meat-eating animals. But we have the long intestinal tract of the vegetarian animal. And when the American diet is extremely high in animal proteins, I mean, 2 eggs for breakfast, and maybe a hamburger or hot dog for lunch, and maybe a roast chicken for dinner, or meat, or cheese, or fish, or any of those things. In other words, a meal isn't even considered a meal unless you get a meat or a protein food. It's a mistake. Our bodies aren't designed for that. We are not able to handle it properly. And then there's something else. I think I have a little more time. At the beginning of this century, last century, in 1906, a PhD by the name of John Beard, who was a professor of medical school and then was teaching medical students, but he also made experiments and did some very interesting things. He published a paper at that time, and that's 106 years ago by my computer, published a paper which clearly showed that all life, all human life, and all animal life, all the animals that give live birth, starts with a fertilized egg. And the egg travels down the ovarian, from the ovaries, down the tubes, into the uterus. And in the uterus it finds a lining of membrane, and it embeds itself in that membrane. I'm making this a little more simple than it actually is, but that's essentially what happens. In that membrane, it buries its way in order to find food. It's got to have food. It's growing from a microscopic size to a past point 7.5 pound baby in 9 months. It's got to have food. And it buries its way into there until it finds a little blood vessel. And it opens and attaches itself to this blood vessel. Now it gets food from the mother's blood. Fine. And it grows and it splits and it grows and it splits and grows and splits. At that point, he calls it a trophoblast. And physically, biochemically, and microscopically, it does not differ from any other malignant cell. It is a malignant cell. Up until, and this is the wonder of the human body, of the body in general, at approximately day 56, that little trophoblast is now getting to be an embryo, and it already has a somewhat functioning pancreas. At one specific day in the multiplication, it starts to release a nice big shot of pancreatic enzymes, and those pancreatic enzymes kill the malignancy. If that doesn't happen, the malignancy remains and grows, and the mother dies from cancer that spreads internally, and of course the baby dies. Chorion epithelioma is called, that particular kind of cancer. But since we're all sitting here, all cases, all our mothers had a proper shot of pancreatic enzymes at the proper time. Now, apparently, according to John Beard, the material that is malignant growing in the uterus turns into the placenta, no longer malignant, and you have a normal developing embryo. So we all start as malignant cells. That, of course, came also to the hands of the pharmaceutical companies. Now we have something to kill cancer. We have something to treat cancer. Wonderful, right? Yes, but it's a natural product. It's produced by all of our pancreatic organs. We all produce it. Therefore, it's not patentable. And pharmaceutical and chemical companies cannot make money if it isn't patented. So for 7 years, 6 or 7 years, the pharmaceutical companies took this information, took this pancreatic material, the pancreatic enzymes, and tried to change a little bit, to add a little bit, to add a little bit, to subtract a little bit. They tried and tried and tried, and every time they tried and made only the slightest change didn't work. So guess what they did? Did they give it to us free of charge? They shelved the whole idea and they carry on with chemotherapy that makes huge amounts of money.